right, thank you. Thank you everyone for coming out today. How are you guys enjoying TC19? Come on, more enthusiasm. All right, that's good to hear. Well, thank you. My name is Herman Mike. I'm a senior support engineer with Tableau.
And I'm Jason Huffman. I'm a technical writer at Tableau.
And today we'll be giving a beginner session of managing and leveraging your data with Tableau Online. We'll first cover using cloud-hosted data sources, and then Jason will be covering using on-premise data sources with Tableau Bridge.
Perfect. Sounds good to me. I'm going to take a seat in the front row. Herman will take care of you, and I'll be back in a little bit. Good luck, man.
So on our agenda today, some things we'll be covering, give you an overview of Tableau Online, the benefits of using Tableau Online, leveraging your data, refreshing cloud-hosted data sources with Tableau Online, monitoring the activity once it's published to Tableau Online, and then last but not least, refreshing your data sources with Tableau Bridge. So what is Tableau Online? Can I see a hands of how many people have used Tableau Online before? Okay, we have a good few here. Do you guys use it a lot or brand new? Okay, okay, that's good to know. So Tableau Online is a cloud-hosted solution that allows you to collaborate, distribute content with the Tableau product. So who benefits from Tableau Online? I know some of you are individuals that don't have an IT department. This is good for you because you don't have any servers that could have Tableau server. On the other hand, those of you have huge companies with an IT department, but you don't have the resources or time for this hassle of building new servers for a Tableau server. So Tableau Online, the hardware is managed and the systems are managed by Tableau. You don't have to worry about any of this. It also makes this cost effective for you because you don't have to add any more hardware into your system. Another great benefit of Tableau Online is that you can access your content from anywhere in the world, as long as you have internet. So let's get into leveraging your data. There are two main things that you will hear about when using Tableau Online: an extract versus a live connection. I know a lot of our customers ask, what is an extract, what is a live connection? An extract is basically a snapshot of your data source stored into system memory that allows you to render views faster. A live connection is pretty much self-explanatory. This is a connection directly to your underlying data source that allows you to see real-time updates in your worksheets. Now, how do I choose between using an extract versus a live connection? An extract, as I said before, is a snapshot. So if you have an extract of your data source, it allows for your worksheets, your dashboards to refresh faster. It allows you also to have a copy of your data source offline. So you could access that anytime you want and build your views using Tableau Desktop or Tableau Online. One thing to know about using extracts, though, is that new data, in order for you to get new data, you have to perform manual or refreshes for new data to update those extracts. A live connection, on the other hand, allows you real-time updates to your underlying data source. But one thing you might need to know is that queries are not performed by Tableau Online. The queries are performed directly from your underlying data source. So for instance, if you have a SQL database on-premise, your on-premise database will need to be optimized to handle queries for faster load views in Tableau Online. So let's talk about refreshing extracts. There are different ways or methods to get your content to Tableau Online and refreshing those data sources. The first will be using Tableau Desktop, which is a manual process. You have the application, you install that on your machine, and you could use Tableau Desktop to refresh those data sources. The other one will be the Tableau Data Extract command line utility. This is a utility that is built into Tableau Desktop when you're installed, and our IT team loves this because you're allowed to use scripts using Windows Scheduler to perform those automatic scripts to get your content to Tableau Online and refresh those data sources. Another option will be using Tableau Bridge. This is for those who don't have any type of cloud-hosted data sources, and which my colleague Jason will be talking about later. If you don't have cloud-hosted data source, but all your content is on-premise, you could use Tableau Bridge to get that information and refresh those data sources on Tableau Online. Last but not least is the Tableau Online specifically, where you could refresh your extracts using Tableau Online schedules. Let's talk more about published data sources. Why would you use published data sources? So let me give you an example. Say if you have multiple departments working on a specific team and everyone needs access, you guys are all accessing the same tables from a database. Published data source allows you to have a centralized space where these data sources are located in Tableau Online. You won't need to have any type of embedded credentials to access this data because it's already published to Tableau Online and you have access to it. Also, when you publish data sources to Tableau Online from Tableau Desktop, all that metadata is carried over to Tableau Online, which, for instance, if you had calculations, anyone that accesses those published data sources would have access to those calculations. Those are the benefits of using published data sources. So now that we have all our information about the types of data that getting to Tableau Online, let's talk about using the cloud data sources in Tableau Online. Tableau Online allows multiple different types of data sources for cloud-hosted data. Here we have a few: Salesforce, Microsoft Azure, Amazon Redshift, BigQuery. We have more listed in our resources page at the end of this course. But one thing to know about cloud-hosted data source, because Tableau Online needs to access your content and it's only available to public hosted information, you have to make sure that Tableau Online is cleared on your provider's safe list. Now that you have your content into the Tableau Online site, you have the ability of creating extract schedules. Our schedules in Tableau Online are non-customizable, but they allow you to provide full and incremental refreshes for your data sources. The way scheduling works, once it's set, it's placed in a queue, and then once resources are available, it starts refreshing and completing. One thing to note about our refreshes for Tableau Online though, queries in Tableau Online have a 2-hour time limit. So one thing you might need to know is if you're publishing extracts from Tableau Desktop, you need to make sure that these queries complete within that 2-hour time limit. On the other hand, if it doesn't, you might want to go towards a live connection. Now that your content you have created your schedule, you have the ability to monitor this activity in Tableau Online. There are two main views in the admin views that you would want to look at when looking at your data sources. One will be background tasks for extracts. With background tasks for extracts, this allows you to view when schedules are set, if they've failed, are they pending, or have they succeeded. The other one will be traffic to data sources. This allows you to see who has published data sources, how many views are going to a specific data source, and you also have the ability to see this information for Tableau Bridge, which Jason will talk about later. So let's go into a quick demo. Password's locked. Good. Give me a second as we get this password unlocked here. Okay.
Good.
So in this demo, what we're going to go through is basically we're going to publish a workbook to Tableau Online with an embedded extract in the workbook. We're going to create a schedule and then monitor it refreshing. So here, I am going to connect to a cloud-hosted data source, or Amazon Aurora. We're going to enter the server name, which is already populated, the username, which is populated, and then enter the password. Once we're connected, we're going to choose the specific database that we want to connect to. Here, we're going to use test v1. And for this instance, we're going to use the Starbucks table. Now, once this is pulled in, we're going to create an extract. And like I said before, once you create an extract, you could download this to your personal machine, which gives you offline access to it. Here, we're going to download it to my files here. And now we're going to create a workbook to pull in profits by state. So we're going to pull in the state into the rows and the profits into the columns. We will now try to publish this workbook to Tableau Online and go to server and publish workbook. It's going to ask you to log into your Tableau Online site. You'll put in your credentials. Here I'm going to put in my username, my email address. And if you have multiple sites, you could choose which site that you want to publish to. Here we're going to use JSON and then enter a password. A dialog box will appear and we could choose the project that we want. We're going to choose demos here and name. Here we're going to name it profits by state. Now we want to look at our data source and make sure that we change our authentication from refresh not enable to allow refreshes once it gets to Tableau Online. We'll click publish. It will publish to Tableau Online. It will open up in a browser. And the first thing you should see is a schedule, an option to create a schedule. Here, we're going to click on Schedule Data Refresh. And for this instance, we're going to create a schedule for 5 p.m. We'll create our schedule. And as you can see here, our workbook is published and our extract refreshes has created the schedule. As you could see, the update has never run for that schedule, and it's saying our update is for the following day. For this instance, we're going to say run now to bypass all this. And now to monitor this, we're going to use the site status, which has the admin views. Here, we're going to take a look at our background task for extracts, and you'll be able to monitor whether our data source has ran and completed. Here, you can see with that blue circle, it has completed, and it gives you the start time and the completed time of that refresh. What we'll do now is go back to the data source, refresh the page, and we will now see that it has been updated. As you can see, it has been updated. And that's how you would use your data source monitoring for data sources in Tableau Online. To talk to you about online or on-premise data sources will be my colleague, Jason Huffman.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Herman. All right. So at this point, we learned how to refresh our data sources with Tableau Online. As the slide behind me entails, we're going to talk about Tableau Bridge. But before that, I want to tell you why you would use Tableau Bridge. Tableau Bridge is for those of you who have your data on-premise, behind a firewall, and is inaccessible by Tableau Online. If this sounds like you in this session or around the cube, you might want to listen up. Cool, we'll take care of you. So what is Tableau Bridge? Historically, Tableau Bridge used to be called the Online Sync Client. This may be familiar to some of you. It was packaged with our desktop product, but up until 10.3, it changed to Tableau Bridge. Still shipped with Tableau Desktop, however the name changed. As of 2018-1, it became a standalone software available to licensed Tableau Online users. The program itself, 64-bit Windows program that runs on your network. If you're thinking to yourself, well, what about me? I have a Mac, I have Linux. I'm sorry, you heard it correctly. At this time, it's a Windows program. The Bridge client will work in conjunction with Tableau Online to keep your on-premise data fresh. All right, so now we know what Tableau Bridge is. How does it work? Behind me is a pretty simple diagram. In the top left corner, you'll see Tableau Online. In the bottom, you're going to see a computer on your network. I'm going to say that a few times because on your network is required because if it's not, you won't be able to connect to your on-premise data. In the bottom right, if you haven't guessed already, it's your on-premise data. To get started, we have to authenticate to the Bridge client as a licensed Tableau Online user. This will be available to those of you who have site roles of administrator, creator, or Explorer Can Publish. If you're unfamiliar with the site roles and you don't know where you sit on your site, contact your site administrator and they'll take care of you. If you're hearing this and you're new to Tableau Online, check out our booth in the showcase because there we'll tell you about how to get started or contact your local sales rep. We're happy to take care of you. Now we are authenticated to the Bridge client. Pretend with me for a moment. Pretend with me that we have extracts set up already. With this, we send a request to Tableau Online for the refresh schedule. Tableau Online abides, sends the refresh schedule back to us, and now we have all the information we need to kick off at our scheduled time, and we query your on-premise data. We'll be doing a little more in-depth demo later on, so stay with me here. From this point, the extract completes, and we publish to Tableau Online. Tableau Online is happy. You even get a little wiggle. That itself isn't built into the product, but if you want to do a thumbs up every time your refresh succeeds, I wouldn't mind. It's a little weird, but I do it. Just with any software, I want to talk about security. We're not going to go too in-depth in this session just because on the cloud track, we have another session that does a more holistic view to cloud security, and we're going to talk about that in the related sessions at the end of our presentation. But for now, to get started, Tableau Bridge is easy. Easy to install and doesn't require any changes to your company firewall. This will be good for large teams, small teams alike, but I do want to tell you, if you're going to be using Tableau Bridge, you might want to work with your IT team or database administrators to tell them that you'll be using a software that will be querying the underlying data. You kind of want to avoid IT flags when you can, right? Tableau Bridge will communicate with Tableau Online using bidirectional encryption. This means that both inbound and outbound requests are safe and secure. If you have any questions about encryption and how that works, stop by our showcase booth, and we have product managers and engineers to help you answer those questions. Next, if required by your database, your credentials are stored directly in the Bridge client using the Windows Credentials Manager. This is good for those teams that don't want their credentials published to Tableau Online, as they're local to the machine and managed through the Windows Credentials Manager. The last thing I want to talk to you about is that Bridge runs in two modes: application and service mode. In application mode, Bridge will run as a Windows application. It will only execute refreshes when the user is logged on to the computer. On the other hand, in service mode, you can say it with me, Bridge will run as a Windows service. This will require the Windows user to be a local admin on the computer. However, as long as the computer is powered on, Bridge will execute refreshes. Some of you might be thinking, Jason, well, what if I have a scheduled restart? What if my computer goes down? Well, don't worry. In service mode, as long as the computer is up and running, Bridge will restart itself. So you're covered there, and your schedules will kick off as intended. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about what data sources the Bridge can handle. You're already looking at the screen behind me, and there's 3 up there. 2, obvious. 1, not so obvious. First off, Bridge will handle refreshes of your extracts of on-premise data, flat files, or relational data. Next, if your team needs it, we can cover live connections to on-premise relational data. This will require an additional configuration by your site admins. Site admins, don't worry. If you're familiar with this process, we're going to talk about in the next slide. Quick and easy, super simple to enable. The last and not so obvious data source type that Bridge can handle is data on a restricted cloud environment. If you're not too sure what that means, it's basically data in the cloud that's on a private network. Tableau Bridge can access it, but Tableau Online can't. So, an example that came up recently is Microsoft SQL on Azure. Easy enough. As promised, what you see behind me is the Tableau Bridge site settings page for your online site. Site admins, I'm talking to you. In this screen, in the lower left-hand side, you'll see an option to enable live connections for your Bridge client. With a click of a button, well, actually, now that I think of it, it's a click of a button, and then you click Save. But with these easy steps, you will basically enable this feature for your publishers. Publishers, now I'm talking to you. Once the feature is enabled, as you're familiar with, the screen behind me is a dialog window when pushing a data source to Tableau. This is a live connection to on-premise data, and in this screen, you'll see there's a new option for us, the option to maintain live connections. This is important to select during the publish process, as it will let you use the feature. In the scenario that you do not select this, Tableau Online will try to query your on-premise data and will most likely fail, as it's behind your firewall. And in that scenario, an extract will be published instead of the live connection which you want. So just something to keep in mind. Lastly, before we get into a demo, I just want to tell you how the Bridge handles refreshes. Off the bat, Bridge is more customizable than Tableau Online. And by that, I mean you could refresh Sunday through Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, different days of the week. You kind of get the picture. It also lets you execute refreshes on the hour between a range of times. It gives you more control over your maintenance tasks and actually lets the refreshes abide and kind of work with the needs of your team. When it comes to extracts refreshing through the Bridge client, the Bridge will handle 1 refresh at a time. And again, that's 1 refresh at a time. It's important to note because I've heard some cases where teams will require different data sources to be refreshed on the same schedule. And if this sounds like you, what we've heard is that other users are setting up multiple Bridge clients on different machines. Important thing to note is that only 1 Tableau Online user can be authenticated per Bridge client. If you do this, That allows you to use the same refresh schedule for different data sources. Pretty cool. Through the Bridge Client UI, you can manually start and stop your refreshes. In this scenario, it's good because if you just want to refresh something manually outside of schedule, let's say your database administrator comes to you and says, we're good to go, click the button through the UI, and you're covered. The last thing before we hop onto the demo is that the Bridge doesn't really have a timeout. It uses your local system resources, and depending on the amount of data coming in from your data source during the refresh itself, you can see stuff refreshing within minutes, thousands of minutes. It really depends on how much info is coming in. So, with that said, we're going to hop into a demo for all you visual learners out there. All right, so right behind me we have a computer on your network that has Tableau Bridge installed. The first thing we're going to do is open up the Bridge client icon, and it's going to prompt us to authenticate to Tableau Online. We're going to go and enter our username, as Herman did earlier. And if you are a member of multiple sites, you might see a drop-down menu for sites. Use your best judgment, select the site that you want. For us, we're going to be using JSON. Enter your hopefully super secure password. And if everything looks good, we're going to click Sign In. The next thing we're going to look at is go through the Bridge Client UI, get a feel for it, and then we're going to work towards scheduling an extract refresh. The Bridge Client will live in the Windows system tray, and we're going to select it here. Within the Bridge UI, you're going to see the name of the bridge, its status, and also which type of mode it's running in. As I mentioned, there's application and service mode. I'm in service mode. At this point, it's time to refresh. By clicking your site name in the top right corner of the Bridge UI, it's going to open a web browser and bring you to a list of data sources that are published to your online site. Here, you're going to see data sources that you own and others that other users have published to the site as well. For our demo, we're going to be looking at Starbucks Extract, also known as Starbucks Demo on my screen right now. By selecting this extract, you will go further into the data source details on the online site. By that I mean, it'll tell you all the information you need about this published data source. From this screen, you're going to have access to the Ask Data feature. You're going to be looking at connections, which will tell you how many connections are involved in this published extract. You also have the Extract Refreshes tab, which we're going to be using for our demo. Lastly, connected workbooks. This just tells you how many workbooks are connected to your published data source. When we select the Extracted Refreshes tab, you see nothing has been scheduled yet. That's because we're walking through in this demo today. For starters, we're going to go and select New Extract Refresh in the top left of the screen. Once you click this, it's going to ask you basically to select your refresh. I mentioned earlier that Tableau Online has more customization, or Tableau Bridge has more customization than online, and we're going to see it here. From this dropdown, we have the option to select how often we repeat and at certain times. From here, we're going to select the dropdown, and we're going to see we have options to refresh weekly, also options to refresh daily and monthly. For our demo, we're going to look at daily. Next up, you're going to see I guess like a pattern here. We select one and we trickle down to more and more like nitty-gritty selections. We can refresh 2 hours, 4 hours, 8, 12, or every day. For us, we're choosing day. Next up, we choose our time range. We're going to go between the hours of 1600 to 1700, 24 hours. That's like, I think that's 4 to 5. That's what I was shooting for, so I think we're good. After this is selected, the last thing you have to do is choose what days of the week you want it to run. You could do something from Sunday through Saturday, or nitpick and say, I want Monday, Wednesday, Friday. For us, we're only going to choose Wednesday. So we're going to unselect Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. You get the picture. Check your work, and if this all sounds good, click Schedule Refresh. Now you've created your refresh schedule, and things should be good, right? Well, if you look close behind me, you're going to see that the next update time says disabled. This is actually what you're going to expect by going through the bridge the first time, and it's because you haven't told Tableau Online where to refresh this information on, which bridge computer. To do that, we're going to go in the top right of the screen and select, well, the button itself says, select where this refresh will run on. We click that, and we get yet another dialog. This is important, though. In this screen, we have the option to refresh on Tableau Online or Tableau Bridge. You could probably guess we're going to use Bridge. From here, we're going to go into the drop-down for computers. We're only going to see one because we authenticated into one, but if you are a member of multiple Bridge clients, you will only see the bridges you've authenticated into. So you could have 2, 3, 4, you kind of understand. We're selecting J. Huffman 1, checking our work, and clicking Save. You can kind of pat yourself on the back at this time because we have successfully pushed the refresh to the Bridge client, and now we can either wait for it to run, but I don't want to waste your time, so we're going to go directly to the Bridge UI, and we're going to use the Run Now feature. But if you remember earlier, before this, my database requires credentials. So I'm going to enter them directly in the Bridge client by selecting the Edit icon. In here, you'll be prompted for a username and your password, and you have the option to test connection or save. Pretty straightforward. I always like doing the test connection because historically I've been known to fat finger passwords, so it's a good feature for me. We click OK, and if everything checks out, click Save. Now, we can either wait for it to run, or we could push the refresh manually. We're going to see that we have the last updated time and next updated time, but I'm impatient, so we click Run Now, and it kicks off the extract refresh. The dialog went away, and the refresh is completed. That's because we're using an extract that was just filtered down to the top 100 rows. You might have a different experience depending on the information pulling in from your database, but that's what we're looking at. By now, our demo is complete and the extract succeeded. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the Bridge UI itself. In the Bridge UI, you have the option to edit your data source, as we did earlier. You also have the option to schedule. The Edit Data Source option is good just when you need to update your database credentials on the fly. This allows you to not have to publish a new data source. You can change it directly from the Bridge. The Schedules icon will open up the same underlying data source screen we saw in the browser. We're not clicking it because I don't want to exit this screen, but from here, you could update your existing data source schedules or create new refreshes. The Run Now button, as you're all familiar with, will allow you to kick off extract refreshes outside of the scheduled time. And lastly, if you're sick and tired of your data source, you could actually delete it directly from the Bridge UI with the Remove button. So that's all you really need to know about Bridge to get started, and that ends the demo. All right, so I'm gonna tell you a secret. You made it to the end of the session. We made it to the end of the session. Before we go into questions, as some of you might have, I just want to do a quick recap. Today, we took a look at identifying where our data sources live and how best to refresh them. Should we refresh with Tableau Online? Should we refresh with Tableau Bridge? I don't know, so I hope you do. We also took a look at our administrative views and how we could best use them to monitor the health of our data sources and also troubleshoot failures. That's an important one. Sound good to you?
Sounds good to me.
All right, cool. So I'm going to be running questions out. We have a little mic, so no one has to stand up. It's kind of fun. Yeah, let's get to it. Does anyone have any questions?
Got a question over here.
Oh, I'm going to run it. Give me that. You're up here, man. Hey.
Excuse me if you covered this. I wanted to hopefully have you explain what the difference between is like a regular refresh and a sequential refresh in Tableau Online.
Say that again, I didn't hear.
There's like the regular refresh and the sequential. What's the difference?
The incremental refresh?
Oh, yeah.
Incremental? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so basically the regular refresh, it goes back to the underlying database and refreshes everything. You know, it refreshes the whole extract altogether. It pulls in all the tables back into Tableau Online. The incremental refreshes only updates new data that has been updated into the extract. So yeah, basically.
So
yeah, sure. Please.
There's like, you know, when like you're looking at like this, when you are in Tableau Online, you want to change the schedule, and there's like, it says sequential, and then in parentheses it says slower. What's that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Sequential. Basically, the sequential. I don't know off the top of my head what it, but it will be in our documentation. I don't know that off the top of my head, but yeah, we will have. It's in our resources that we provide, so it will have that information in there. Yeah.
Is that you? Cool.
First question. Do you have any tricks around avoiding the 2-hour timeout?
For
yeah,
you got that one?
So
and then second question was, do you have any sense for Salesforce connections natively cloud to cloud, if they'll support calculated fields at some point?
So that will be in the second part of your question, the Salesforce part. That will be more for our dev team to answer for future. But right now for Salesforce, basically to refresh content from Salesforce, you would have to use an extract to refresh that data. You can't use Live Connection currently at the moment, so you have to use extracts. First question.
The first question was, how do I get around the 2-hour time?
So yeah, so the 2-hour time limit, that's more depending on the user in creating and how you create your extracts in Tableau Desktop. You have to try to optimize your queries if you're using custom SQL or anything like that, or you could filter your extracts once you're creating them in Tableau Desktop. There's different ways, options of filtering to, you can limit the rows that you're trying to refresh, things like that. So there's options for you to minimize those extract time limits. The other option will just be using a live connection. So, yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah. So, I mean, if I have multiple data source from the same connection, do I have to maintain each connection one by one for the password, username and password in the Tableau Bridge?
So the question was, if I have multiple connections, multiple data sources connected to the data source. Okay. The same connection. Do I have to manage each one independently in Tableau Bridge?
So in terms of the password, in terms of the connection that you're making, or is it one data source has the multiple connections, or?
From the same DB server, but different table. Different table? Yeah.
As long as it has the same connections in that data source, you can manage that from Tableau Bridge. If you have, if you're connecting to a multi-data source, you could just manage that from Tableau Bridge. Yeah.
I guess to answer your question, if you have, let's say your database and you have multiple tables in it, and as you connect it, As long as you have, well, it depends. So an extract could be different joins, different connections. The bridge client itself, is handled on a per data source basis. So if you have connected and made extracts of different tables in that data source, you'll have to enter the credentials for each one in the bridge client as it handles individually by data. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that's what you experience. Okay. At this time, you're going to have to do the username and password for each data source entered into the bridge in order for the refreshes to kick off. But there might be something to work, so swing by the showcase in Tableau Online. We'll answer more questions more.
Is there the way I can remotely trigger the synchronization from the Tableau Bridge? You use the some like API to trigger the synchronization from the Tableau Bridge?
Currently, there isn't. We don't have any documentation to do that per se via API. You would mainly use something like the data extract command line utility, which I referenced first. So you could use that for different types of extract refreshes. But from the API per se, that would be something that you would have to talk to the dev product team about in terms of API for Tableau Bridge.
There's nothing at this time.
Yeah.
Any other questions, or we good? Okay. I think that's it.
Okay.
All right. So just wrapping this up. If you are trying to follow this cloud track, I do a couple shout outs here where if you like Tableau Bridge and want to learn more, we do have another Tableau Bridge focused session tomorrow. That one is going to go cover what Tableau Bridge is, also tells you how to scale Tableau Bridge, and a little bit about the future we have in store. Next up is more of an advanced class. If you like security, we have a session called Securing Tableau Online, Protecting Data as a Service. This is more of an advanced class, and this is on Friday. It focuses on how we keep your data secure in Tableau Online. So if this sounds like something you're interested, check that out. We got some good devs on that one. Next, you guys know what to do. You've gone through sessions today. Go through. We'd love to hear from you in the app. Go fill out the surveys. We didn't lie to you. We have resources as part of this presentation. As I'm told that you will get PDFs and copies of all the material you've seen during this conference. So if you have any questions and you want to fact check us, this isn't a plug as a tech writer, go check out these resources and it'll be good.